Inhofe, Senator, please
Thank you.
proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Regan, I have to, confession is good for the soul. And I confess that I came from the House to the Senate in 1994. And during that time, I can't think of any person who has possessed a position like yours that I've been more fond of, but had to vote against than you. And that was, and the reason for that was, I look at all these things that they're attempting to do in this administration, and the job killing. I have a hard time figuring out why we're doing what we're doing. Why would we be encumbered here in the United States with regulations that are going to put people out of business, cause industries to leave the United States, and yet the largest polluter is China. I mean, China right now is building coal-fired power plants at a rate outpacing the rest of the world combined. In 2020, China bought more than 3 times what was brought online elsewhere. And last year, China generated 53% of the world's coal-fired power plants. We generated 19%. Now, I guess I start off with, how do you justify that?
Well, I think, Senator, thank you for the question. And
are you sure?
Well, you know, I know it's on your mind and on the minds of others. And I think what we saw last week was the president rallying the world to begin to address this issue, and China was at the table. I think that with the American Jobs Plan and the direction we're headed, it's not solely an opportunity just to mitigate against climate impact. It's an awesome opportunity for us to lead in technological advancements and create jobs. We know that the markets are trending directionally in this way, and I believe that's why the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and and organizations like the Petroleum Institute are on board with looking at regulations that really pursue deep cuts in methane. The reality is that with CCS, with methane technologies and others, America is poised to cut deeply these greenhouse gases, but also deploy these technologies internationally. So we have an awesome opportunity to grab onto this and not only create jobs domestically and ride the wave of where the market is going, but export these technologies as well to get these deep emission reductions that we need to get.
Now, under this agreement, and this is kind of reliving what happened in the past, China gets the free ride. China doesn't have to, they can continue for their growth in those generations of energy for 15 years. And then you have India. In India, I assume, I haven't heard anything recently since this has reemerged, but initially in the initial Paris Accord, India was demanding billions and billions of dollars. I was looking for that figure and I can't find it now. But anyway, and so yes, they join in. Well, why not? I can understand that. In the case of China, I would say the greatest threat that we have with China is that we have to comply. Have you done any kind of a study that what the EPA regulations will be needed in order to meet President Biden's new Paris climate commitment? He's made a commitment, what we're going to do in the United States. What's going to be the cost of that commitment?
Well, I think the studies that we've done and what we're actually doing in terms of meeting that commitment is we're in constant communication and right now engaging with the automobile industry and the unions. We're engaging with many fossil fuel companies. I was on a call with EEI membership just 2 weeks ago, CEOs from the power plant sector discussing exactly what we need to do to structure a process where we deploy the right technologies, keep these jobs in America, and get the jump on reducing greenhouse gases and methane. And so,
Yeah, but you know, Mr. Egan, since they have to meet these requirements, have we analyzed to see what the cost is going to be, and that would be incurred by industries here in the United States? Now, those industries, some of them may take the position that, well, we can go to China, we can make more money if we move our operation to China. And that's the concern that is out there. Let me ask in a different way. Last week, I introduced legislation that would ensure that China is held to the same emissions reductions commitment as the United States. Now, isn't that common sense?
you know, Senator, I just see America as a leader, and the president's jobs plan isn't really following China. It's really looking at where the markets are driving and how we really harness the technological advancements that we're seeing. We're talking about CCS. We're talking about these deep methane cuts. We're looking at electric vehicles and talking with our automobile industry that believes they can get there in a time frame where we can have all of those jobs homegrown. I think this is a huge opportunity, and the president thinks this is a huge opportunity for a government-wide approach to look at how we leverage resources to build American jobs, leverage technology in the market, and by the way, get some really deep emission reductions from methane and CO2.
Okay, have you done anything to determine what EPA regulations are going to be needed to meet the requirements?
What we're doing now is we've provided sort of a range of how we think we play in that NDC number. And as we develop our regulations, we will do the cost-benefit analysis. We'll look at the cost of technologies. And to answer your question directly, as we look at these regulations, there will be a number of technologies, timelines, and paths that we'll be discussing with those who are regulated. And it will be that combination of things that will ultimately yield a regulation that determines that final number. So it's a work in process.
Well, it's a work in process, but you don't know, and I don't think there's any way you could know at this point what it's going to cost to comply with those regulations. They're going to have to do things that is going to be more expensive to operate. I think we all understand that. My concern is that China will not have to do that. There are many industries here in the United States that would actually benefit from more regulations in the United States because all they have to do is move to China and there won't be any regulations there.
Yeah, Senator Inhofe, I hate to do this, but you're about 3 minutes over.
Yeah, I know.
And, so I'm gonna ask you to hold it there, and if you have some further questions, we may have some time at the end. If not, I know the administrator would be happy to.
Yeah, the reason I went over a little bit, Mr. Chairman, is that I can't stay for longer.
All right.
And I wanted to be sure.
Well, I want to make sure that you had a chance
to get the point across that some things could happen to actually benefit some of our industries, encouraging them to leave and go to China and actually perform better. But we're the big loser here in the United States. I've run companies. I did that for a living before I got here. Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.